Hi, welcome to my art studio. I'm artist Lynell Ingram. My channel is Paint Fumes, and I love color. I thought it might be fun since pink is having a real moment right now for, I wonder any particular reason. Let's talk about pink. As somebody who loves color and works with color every day of my life, what an interesting opportunity to unpack a very complex history tied to a very specific color. So, pink. The term comes from actually the name of a flower, and it is a tint of red. You take a red or magenta shade and you add a little bit of white to it, and you will have a shade of pink, of which there are very, very many. Pink in many other languages, the name for it is essentially the word for rose. Its earliest uses as products or clothing or fashion seem to date to about the 18th century. In the high courts in France, pink was considered a very fashionable color for a period of time for both men and women, and it became associated as a color of luxury. It was used in high-end pottery, and it, at that period, along with art that came shortly after, was used to represent either innocence, tenderness, childlike qualities, or completely conversely, seduction and sexuality. Through most of history, pink was not considered a particularly feminine color. It was just a color. Up until really the mid-20th century, pink was even considered a masculine color. It was used to dress young boys in as much as it was girls, even more so, because it was a version of red, a softer version of red, and red was what soldiers wore in Britain, and it was a color of passion and blood, so it was considered a stronger color, and a light blue was considered maybe more delicate and softer and more appropriate for girls to wear. But it really wasn't a very strong association one way or the other. In fact, very young children generally were dressed in white because before the advent of modern chemical dyes, it was just a whole lot easier to be able to wash that repeatedly for children. So what changed in our cultural history that made pink suddenly become a very feminine color? So the shift really happened after the end of World War II, where maybe not so coincidentally, the Nazis used pink triangles to label people as gay and subject them to horrific treatment in their camps, along with others, of course. The pink triangle was later reclaimed in the 70s as a symbol of solidarity and protest for gay rights. It was used to raise public awareness later about HIV and AIDS, and had just sort of become a more general symbol for modern gay and LGBTQ plus rights movements. So when soldiers returned home from the war, pink began to be marketed more towards women, who in general were being targeted with images of docile homemakers as they were pushed out of the workforce. And during the 1950s, there were several occasions where very prominent women had a personal preference for pink, wearing dresses that were photographed and kind of helped to cement that preference, that cultural preference that sort of happened. Pink is arguably less gendered today, though stereotypes, of course, still persist thanks to marketing and buying trends. I think you can still see some color signaling of preferred gender in toy sections in stores to this day. But what about Barbie? Being that Barbie is kind of driving the new resurgence and this very intense interest in the pinks. When did Barbie go pink? Barbie has a complicated history as an iconic toy. The creator, Ruth Handler of Mattel, who originally was actually a furniture company, supposedly developed the doll to be the embodiment of children's goals for life, with different career options, with clothing outfits to match. She was a fashion icon. But is she a feminist toy? Really? With her painted on makeup, her impossible hourglass figure, her feet permanently primed for pumps, say that 5 times fast, her stereotypical and unrealistic expression of femininity has long been at best controversial. There have been studies over the years that have correlated children that play with her to lower levels of self-esteem and body image. So there's certainly some problematic things that have existed. I'm of course aware that they've done some options for body types and things along those lines to be a little bit more inclusive and realistic lately. But Barbie didn't originally come in pink boxes. That packaging and branding didn't come about until the 1970s when they started marketing her to younger girls than previously, instead of just marketing her to slightly older girls as a high fashion doll. So it's no question that Barbie still has some level of influence on fashion. And even before the Barbie movie for 2023 is now coming out, there has been even a term for it, Barbiecore. Think head to toe pink, over the top accessories, bright pinks, shocking pinks. And it's a bit of escapism, fun and frivolous, kind of embracing the hyper-femininity and gendered standards that come along with the doll's history, but also sometimes deliberately playing with those things. With the resurgence of Barbiecore fashion, retailers are taking no pause in jumping on the bandwagon and making offerings of all shades of pink and everything crazy. So it's a fascinating thing how pink became entrenched to be a feminine representation in color form, but the history of it is kind of all over the place culturally. So not only is the new movie potentially selling more Barbies, but it's certainly selling clothes. But as fashion trends come and go so quickly, I do hope that this one will have a lasting impact in that it opens us up to be more bold with colors that we choose for ourselves and our homes and anything else in our lives. Neutrals are great and they have their place, but give me some color, because all of the shades of the rainbow and all their different values is so much more exciting than shades of brown and gray and grayish. So yeah, think about color a little bit. There's so much more to unpack than just the psychological assignments of blue is relaxing and green is nature. As humans who like to assign categories and meanings to all kinds of things, we have a lot to say when it comes to colors in our lives. If you enjoyed this video, this little mini deep dive into the history of the color pink, then please subscribe and let me know in the comments if you are interested in me continuing to make content specifically like this and kind of deep diving into color and random little aspects that make up our worlds and the art in it. So hey, embrace some bright color. It'll be good for you. Raise your spirits a bit. All right, have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one.